It's the obvious choice. Of course, their producers made the obvious choice and quite frankly hurt a good twist. We had a good twist with the secret traitor thing. They finally came up with a good twist idea and they ruin it by making Donna the secret traitor. What is up, everybody? Back to talk about episode 3 of season 4 of The Traitors, and all I can say is down goes Donna. Down goes Donna. I couldn't be more excited about that for anyone that watched my last video. This episode began, however, with the whole killing in plain sight that the Traitors had to do, which they ended up offing old Rob Has a Podcast, who was robbed from getting to play further after so long away from playing a real reality TV show. I know all of the RHAP fans are not so happy out there. It was a smart decision by the Traitors, though. I mean, there was nothing more Rob C could have done, because he was the one that was onto the fact that the Traitors were indeed trying to kill in plain sight. And then the fact that they didn't even discuss it with Candace, Lisa, and Love Island Rob made the decision by themselves, because Love Island Rob is playing this very strategically and trying to get out these smart players, which is what Traitors should always be trying to do. Let's get out the players that are actually going to be very formidable. And I think Rob Has a Podcast was one of those players. Some of the other big things from episode 3 is the fact that this rivalry between Yam Yam and Michael Rappaport continues. And then we have Tiffany starting to align with Michael Rappaport, because Tiffany thinks that Michael is a traitor and she wants to get close to a traitor to keep herself safe. Now, something we're not seeing in Tiffany's game is that she's also clearly very close to the housewives. We see her with the housewives all the time, a little here and there. And I think that's what's actually keeping her safe from the Traitors, but she doesn't know that. She seems to think it is Michael at this point. And she also is throwing out Yam Yam's name with Michael. Candace was, of course, very happy to see that Rob Has a Podcast was the one murdered in plain sight, because she was the one that he went to with his hypothesis that it was a night that the Traitors would kill in plain sight. Donna continued to be a big target for people because she wasn't really playing the game. She stuck up for Ron when people were questioning Ron at breakfast before Ron came in about what he did at the Roundtable the night before, which was rally the troops against Portia. But I mean, Ron had evidence that he brought to the table, quite literally, and Ron had become quite a ally with Donna. One of the big twists for this episode was that the Roundtable would take place before the challenge, which I found very interesting. And with the results of the Roundtable, I was wondering if that was the producer's way of trying to keep Donna out of these very physical challenges that she clearly can't do. Because it was odd to do it in this order, especially with the odd number of people doing the challenge, which meant someone would be the odd person out and automatically be up for being murdered. But that is what transpired. Before the Roundtable, we got more about Tiffany, who was clearly close to the housewives, but trying to figure out the rift between Michael and Yam Yam. She is leaning towards Michael being a traitor, but she wants to be close to Michael in case he is the traitor. But she's also kind of getting on the Yam Yam might be a traitor talk with Michael. This is Tiffany's problem in a game quite usually, is I get the strategy behind it and I like her strategy behind it here, but it tends to always get a little too messy and possibly a little overplaying, which she might have done by the end of this episode. Colton, meanwhile, was still going after Donna in this episode. In fact, he tried to lead the charge on Donna, which I guess I appreciate, but I still don't like Colton. In fact, I've been going more and more down the rabbit hole of him on The Bachelor because I don't watch that show. And finding out more about his stalking after The Bachelor, and then finding out how he conveniently came out as gay a year later, and people questioned if he was just doing that to be manipulative and be popular in the public. And honestly, that's the vibe I get. Not necessarily that he's faking being gay, but that he is kind of psychotic. There's some psychopathy to Colton. I can see it in his eyes. I think he probably would have made a good traitor, but the way he's going about things as a faithful, it's hard for me to like him after finding out more about him being a stalker in real life and being manipulative in real life. So I'm having a hard time with Colton. He's one of my least favorites right now, despite him running the charge against Donna Kelce. Donna tried to speak up more in this episode because people needed her to speak up more. That's why people were coming after her. Donna threw Michael Rappaport under the bus because Rob C voted for Michael, and then Rob C was offed. I did like that Candace didn't mind if the secret traitor was being voted out, because obviously she's liking the way that she, Rob R, and Lisa Rinna are playing right now, which I have to agree, all of the complaining I talked about in the last video with people complaining about how there's no gamers that's a traitor this year, even though in the past the gamers that were traitors sucked. This is the most strategic an entire group of traitors have been. Even season 1 with Suri, there was some mistakes early on. Right now, I think these three are playing a hell of a strategic game. We'll see what their decision is at the end of this episode, which we'll get to. But let's talk about the Roundtable. Ron was obviously going to be the odd person out, which Candace brought up first because Ron flipped the script on the consensus yesterday. Nobody else really realized that Ron had a target. He wasn't talking to a lot of people. Ron brought up the good point that there was a consensus without him that he didn't know about, so he was bringing his own evidence to the table. Ron said that Donna and Michael are the two people he had been talking to the most, which I think probably hurt Ron more after this roundtable. But this is when Colton targeted Donna, also giving Donna more of an opportunity to talk. Donna said she had been fangirling with all these people. She's trying to talk more today, which I think she was. Donna tried to target Michael at the table. And then, of course, Jam Jam and Michael got into it because Michael is pushing for Jam Jam very hard. Michael called Jam Jam a deflector, which he has been doing, but Jam Jam threw it back in Michael's face that Michael does the same thing. And Michael has been all over the place too. So both of their targets keep rising while the traitors keep sitting there pretty. And then everyone piled onto Donna, which is good in my opinion because she was my least favorite casting. And then she was off while she was voted out. And then, of course, Donna was the secret traitor, which was disappointing, as I said it would be. It was just it's the obvious choice. Of course, their producers made the obvious choice and quite frankly hurt a good twist. We had a good twist with the secret traitor thing. They finally came up with a good twist idea and they ruin it by making Donna the secret traitor. I feel like the show was trying to give Donna an advantage because she was, I guess, this big casting, even though we really don't know her from anything. But she was this big casting because of who she's related to. And they thought it would be a good idea to not only make her the secret traitor, to have a one-up there, but also it's okay if she doesn't participate in challenges too much. So they ruined a good twist with that, unfortunately. But I, for one, am glad Donna is out of there. She had her sweet moment crying happy tears because at her age she got to do something like this, which honestly, good for her, but glad she's out. I did laugh when Love Island Rob asked if Donna was married, though he's too much still in that Love Island mindset. So Colton was feeling nice and confident and cocky afterwards. The whole group was excited because they did in fact get a traitor, but Colton feels like he's the traitor hunter. But he has his eyes set back on Tiffany after this one. The challenge was interesting where they had to go into pairs with someone that they trusted with their life. And of course, Ron was feeling like the odd one out, which he put himself in that situation, even though he was just playing the game. So he didn't have a partner, so he was automatically up for elimination. Tiffany continued to get close to Michael to try and keep her enemy closer. They were a duo in this challenge, with Michael being the one to get in the cage, which he said he would. I love Tiffany's response to, okay, your ass is in the cage, which is the smart thing to do. Candace took the cage for Tara. It seems like Candace and Tara are getting closer. Candace wants to be close to Tara because she feels like Tara will be someone that will go to bat for her if they continue to get closer. Although she also said that Tara had the hair thing that they needed. Mara apparently trusts Rob from Love Island because they're both from Love Island. She really, really feels like he's not a traitor. So they were partners in this. Although Rob was just throwing back cherry tomatoes by themselves, which I thought just taking them raw, which is gross to me. I mean, I like cherry tomatoes in like a salad, but just throwing them back raw would have been traitor activity to me. But I guess Maura didn't catch on to that. I'm really liking the duo of Monet and Natalie who paired up for this challenge, because Monet clearly watches a lot of strategy shows and she's really trying to get allies for the faithful. And I feel like she's doing a good job of doing that. And Natalie is bringing good strategy. Like, of all the gamers this season, Natalie is the only one that I really feel is doing a good job at being strategic as a faithful. Honestly, the thing the Traitors is showing me, for all the complaining about the gamers aren't a traitor, the gamers kind of suck at the Traitors, like overall. Not all of them, obviously. Suri was good. Sandra had her moments of being good. A lot of them suck. Last year we saw Danielle, Carolyn, and Boston Rob as traitors be the worst group of traitors in this U.S. franchise's history by being too messy with each other. And now this year as faithfuls, I feel like, Rob C. Cesternino would have done well if he would have been able to survive the early game, because he obviously was on the pulse of the game, knowing that it was a night that it was going to be a public murder. But like the rest of them, Ian as a faithful I don't think would have been that great either. Jam Jam is being really dramatic. For a past winner that has this big target coming in, he is doing the most. And he is defensive. Like, Michael is not wrong about everything he's saying about Jam Jam, even though Michael does a lot of the same things. Just because Michael does a lot of the same things doesn't mean Jam Jam's not doing them also. And then Tiffany, as she's entertaining me, and I get her strategy, but she's putting a target on her own back the way she's going about it, because I do feel like Tiffany has a way of overplaying. So yeah, Natalie is the one right now that I think of the gamers is playing the best game. So during the challenge, they had to stack those 10 skulls. Rob saved Mara, Steven saved Jam Jam, Monet saved Natalie, and Tara saved Candace at the last second, which left Ron, who didn't have a partner, Lisa Rinna, who was in the cage for Dorinda, Eric, who was unfortunately paired with Johnny. Johnny was collecting skulls still when the 10 minutes was up. He did pretty terrible for an Olympic athlete. Kristen was left in the cage, and Caroline was left in the cage. Colton is the one now that is very suspicious of Tiffany because she chose Michael that as the person to trust in this challenge. How dare she trust Michael? Although Colton's had it out for Tiffany since the beginning for some reason, because God forbid she felt bad that Ian was voted out. So Colton is having this big agenda painted in his own mind of paranoia that Tiffany is the one offing the gamers, even though she's trying to blame it on Jam Jam. So we're about to see a Colton and Tiffany confrontation. I hope Tiffany comes out on top of that, despite Tiffany overplaying here. I do think the next roundtable is going to be like Colton and Yam Yam versus Tiffany and Michael. But now the traitors must off someone again. This time they're going to show up and show their faces to whoever they murder. Their options are Ron, Eric, Kristen, Caroline. They visited each of them. They talked about the strategies for each of them. I mean, the only one they shouldn't kill is Ron, because that is bad strategy, because he's kind of the outcast right now. He doesn't really have anyone. There's also still a target on his back. It doesn't make any strategic sense to off Ron. So if the traitors choose him, that is the first misstep of the traitors this season. I liked Lisa and Candace bringing up the fact that if they kill Carolyn, a housewife hasn't been murdered yet. Maybe it takes some eyes off of them, because usually housewives get murdered early in this game. It's a good idea. It's also a double-edged sword, because then it's just those two left with Dorinda, which Dorinda will never suspect them. Dorinda doesn't get this game at all. I still feel that way. Dorinda has no idea who the traitors are, and I don't think she's going to figure them out either. But it might put more eyes on Lisa and Candace. So it's a double-edged sword if they do Caroline. Eric and Kristen both don't really make a big impact, but it also doesn't bring any eyes to them. So maybe one of them actually is the better option. But I also get the strategy behind offing Caroline. But Ron should not be an option if they actually are thinking strategy. And clearly, Rob R is thinking strategy this season. I think he's doing a really good job. I think he's the one to beat. Although I think the duo of Candace and Lisa could actually be formidable. You know, people underestimate the housewives coming into this game, not just the players, but also the viewers. I mean, Phaedra was probably the best traitor her season, and she was with Dan, a winner of Big Brother, and Parvati, a winner of Survivor, and Phaedra had to be the one trying to keep it together. Right now, these three traitors are doing a good job. We'll see how the rest plays out. I am still upset that they ruined a good twist with Donna fucking Kelce.